Today, we are digging into an ancient story with a lesson that feels, well, incredibly modern. It all starts with a bunch of rowdy students and a very, very unhappy teacher. But where it ends up, it's with a hidden code that reveals 4 dangers lurking inside every single one of us. So imagine hearing a spiritual master say that. It's sharp, it's a little bit sarcastic, but who on earth is he talking about? You're probably thinking he's looking at a busy marketplace, right? Nope, not even close. Get this, he was talking about his own senior monks, 500 of them. That one single comment kicks off one of the most incredible psychological lessons you'll ever hear. And it leaves you wondering, what in the world did they do to deserve that kind of burn? Okay, so let's set the scene. The incident itself is pretty straightforward, but the teacher's reaction, well, that's what makes this story totally unforgettable. So picture this. 500 monks, a lot of them senior students, have traveled to see their teacher, the Buddha. They're excited, they haven't seen him in a while, and the energy is just buzzing. And as they're all arriving, they start greeting each other, finding their spots, putting away their bowls and robes, and the sound just builds and builds until it's a total commotion. And that's the moment the teacher hears them and drops that fisherman line. His response is just, wow, it's swift. And it is shocking. He doesn't go, hey guys, could you keep it down? No, he dismisses them, every last one, tells them to pack up and get out, immediately. Those are his exact words. Can you just imagine the dead silence after that? 500 respected students just got told to leave. It seems so harsh, right? I mean, a total overreaction to a little bit of noise. But as you can probably guess, there is way more to this story. So, after some local leaders and even a deity apparently step in to plead their case, the monks are finally allowed to come back. But what happens next? That is the real key to this whole thing. He doesn't lecture them, he doesn't scold them about being quiet. Instead, he starts telling this really bizarre story, a parable about the 4 dangers a person faces when they step into a river. And you have to be thinking, what does that have to do with anything? So he lists them out. First, the fear of waves. Second, the fear of crocodiles. Third, the fear of whirlpools. And fourth, the fear of sharks. Now, on the surface, this just sounds like some pretty practical advice for swimming. But it's not. It's a coded message. Now, here is where it gets really cool, because we can actually decode this. We're going to use a 2-step translation. First, we'll look at the standard dictionary definition from the original Pali language. But then, we're going to go deeper using this ancient linguistic insight called Niruti. It lets us get to the root of a word to find its real psychological meaning. Let's start cracking the code.
Okay, let's take that first danger. The word is umihayam. The standard, literal translation is simply fear of waves. Seems pretty straightforward, right? If you're in the water, you should probably be careful of waves.
But when we use that deeper analysis and look at the root of the word, we find out waves has nothing to do with water. It's a metaphor for what's happening on the inside. The teacher explains that the fear of waves is actually a term for anger. See, the root of the original Pali word suggests a swelling up from within, this uncontrollable force that builds and just crashes over you. It is the perfect metaphor for that feeling of being drowned by your own anger. All right, on to danger number 2, kumbila bahayam. Literally, this just means fear of crocodiles. Again, seems like another pretty obvious danger if you're taking a dip in a river. But as you've probably guessed, the surface meaning is just a cover. This isn't about some reptile with a mouthful of sharp teeth. It's about a different kind of appetite. He says the fear of crocodiles is really a term for gluttony. It's about being controlled by the insatiable appetite of your own stomach. So the danger isn't being devoured by an animal, it's being devoured by your own uncontrolled consumption. The third danger he lists is avatabayam. The common translation is fear of whirlpools. That vortex in the water that can just suck you right under. And I think we all can see the pattern here. The whirlpool he's talking about, it's not in the river. It's in our minds. The fear of whirlpools, that represents our sensual pleasures. It's the danger of getting sucked into these endless cycles of desire and distraction, being pulled around and around by the things we see and hear and taste and touch with no clear way out. And that brings us to the final danger, susukabiyam, The literal translation here is fear of sharks, the ultimate predator of the deep. But the predator the teacher is actually warning his monks about, it's not swimming in the water. It's another powerful force, one that can completely swallow a person's focus. Now, the text says fear of sharks is a term for women, and for his audience of celibate monks, this was a very direct metaphor for the powerful danger of lust, an attachment so strong it could devour their entire spiritual commitment. So, we have this coded message about waves, crocodiles, whirlpools, and sharks. What in the world does all of that have to do with 500 noisy monks? Okay, let's tie this all together. Here it is. This is the big reveal. The teacher wasn't actually mad about the sound. The noise was just a symptom of their inner chaos. Their loudness was proof that they were already being tossed around by waves of frustration, consumed by their appetites, and pulled into whirlpools of distraction. He saw their inner state just by listening to their outer behavior. And this just shows you how timeless these psychological dangers really are, because we all face them, don't we? Anger and frustration, gluttony and just overconsumption, the constant pull of sensual distraction from our phones, our TVs, you name it, and of course the overwhelming power of lust and attachment. You see, this ancient story isn't really about monks from 2,000 years ago. It's a mirror. It's a mirror for our own minds right now. So the real question it leaves us with is this: what are the hidden dangers in your own life? What waves, what crocodiles, what whirlpools are you navigating today?